Hi, everyone. You guys must be like, what is she doing there? Well, it takes a special friend for me to do special things. And I thought Sophie and I go back, gosh, probably over 30 years by now. So she's very dear to my heart. And she has a very powerful story. She is also a very determined and resilient woman, such a beautiful soul. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do something different. And we were going to do a Prince interview. And then she's like, oh, let's do video. I was like, okay, bring me back out. Hi there. I even forgot to introduce myself. See, me assuming that everyone knows who I am. I am Carla Zuill. I am here in Manchester, UK, and I am the editor of She Hub magazine and SheHub.tv. And Sophie is in Baltimore. I'm going to bring her in a moment. So this is an international thing because it's 2:40 where I am in the afternoon, and Sophia is in Baltimore, Maryland, and it is 9:30 in the morning. So we work together, we make it happen. I am so excited. I'm going to bring her in. Good morning, Angel. And guys, you know the deal. If you're used to this, just comment. If you have any questions for Sophie, please feel free. Let me bring Sophie in because when I tell you, we as women, we go through a lot, whether it's its parents, as partners, as co-workers, colleagues. Sometimes we deal with a whole lot more than what we bargained for, right? But the key thing is that we push through. So, Sophie is going to inspire us. She may make us shed some tears. And this is the first time that I have seen Sophie in. I was trying to do the calculation when we were talking a few minutes ago. I don't even know when was the last time I've seen Sophie in public. In person, I would probably say our children are the same age. So maybe 17 years ago, maybe Sophie. Wow. And she still looks the same. Look at that. See? Like fine wine. We don't crack. So let me introduce you guys to Sophie McCray. Sophie,
Good
welcome.
morning. Good morning, everyone.
So good to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you. Great to be on your TV show and great to inspire everyone this morning.
For those who may not know you, you're Bermudian, but you do live in the States.
I do. I live in Annapolis, Maryland.
Tell us a bit about you. What is your background?
My background first is education, teaching. I taught in Bermuda for about 7 years. I moved to Maryland and I taught a little bit here. I got out of that. I did a bit of administrative work. Mostly now I do work at church, volunteer. I am a licensed minister. So I do a lot of work at church at this point in time. I do author work, I write, and I just do a lot through the Lord.
So Sophie, you said author. Now I knew that you had a teaching background, but when did that zest for writing? Where did that come from? Because I was shocked when you told me about this a few years ago.
Um, it was always there. I just had it suppressed. I used to write a lot in college, and I always wanted to write a book. I just didn't believe in myself. I didn't think that I could write all those pages. And so I would write little things and put them in little places. Um, and so one day I said, I'm going to try. And I started with the poetry book and writing different little poems everywhere I went with my situations and circumstances and making them a part of my journey and just putting them in this little book that I had. And then eventually I read up like how many poems you need to have a book. And so I finally had enough. And so my first book, I actually self-published and it was a mess. I was like, oh no, this book came out disgusting. So I said, if I do this, I have to get a publisher. I'm going to redo this and get a publisher.
So for those aspiring poets who want to publish, what's the magic number? How many do you need to have a book?
92.
Mm. So I have 91 more to go. So Sophie,
Yeah.
so your first book, you said it was a mess. Because
Yes.
in this journey we call life, we mess up and some people choose to give up, but you chose to keep going. What made it a mess in your opinion?
Well, the font was off, the sizing was off, the everything was just not the way that I wanted it to be. I didn't have the background to size it up and all that good stuff that a publisher would do. So when it came out printed, it was just a mess, and I didn't like the way that it was. It wasn't good enough for me. It didn't show uh, my ability. So I just didn't want to sell it.
So what made you, because some people would have just said, you know what, I don't want to do this. What made you persevere?
Um, I'm very determined. I just have this thing in me that says, you can do it. The Lord has been really speaking to my heart, saying, "Don't give up." And I'm just been sticking to that, His will and His grace, and not giving up. And so I just keep pressing through, and that's how I ended up with 3 books. Keep pressing through.
I'm sorry. As you know, I do this from home, and one of the boys, because you have two boys too, is
Yes, I do.
jumping, making a whole pile of noise, and I'm working. So please stop. Thanks. So Sophie, you talked about a book of poetry, and one of your books is called Poetry Hides.
Yes.
Why that title?
Because I think poetry hides in everything we do, everywhere we go, the things we see. If we just took time to listen with our hearts, not necessarily our ears, you'll find that everything we do has poetry in it. Poetry hides in the dishes, hides in the activity outside. It's just the waves crashing. You find that it's everywhere.
Now, you talked about your journey. I mean, part of the reason why you're here today is because of your journey.
Mhm.
You left Bermuda. You were married.
Yes.
You know, random fact: the first time I ever ate curry goat was at your wedding. I was always afraid to eat it, and I've been hooked ever since. So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
But you got married. You were married to an American,
Yes.
and then you decided to go overseas.
Yes. That
Okay,
was
and
in
so
2007.
what was your vision when you thought, because I think did you have both boys by then or just your first son?
No, actually, I had both boys, and Josiah was a preemie. I had just given birth, and he was still quite small and with a lot of health issues.
So you decide to relocate to America. What was how did you envision your life at that time? What you thought it would be?
I thought that give us a year where we were because we was at his mom's house. So I thought if we gave it a year there, then we would move into our own place and get a little bit more settled as a family, which never happened. And then it will give us time to grow and give me time to find out what I wanted to do, and get the boys settled into nice schools and things like that. I didn't have any big dreams and aspirations. I just wanted a normal, family life.
When did it become clear for you that what you wanted and what you actually were facing were two totally different things?
About 2 years in, things started to look really gray. We were still at his mom's house, and things were not going as good as we'd hoped. And I just wanted out. I had had enough of being there. I just felt like I was being suffocated. I wasn't allowed to be the wife that I was supposed to be. And it was tough living at his mom's house.
And what's that like when all your family is in Bermuda and you're much less with your husband, but with your husband's family? So you're truly the
Alone.
outsider as such. What
Hmm.
was that like dealing with that? I mean, thankfully we were at a time where technology where I don't even know, could we video call in 2007? I don't think so. Could we? I don't
I
know.
think I think we could WhatsApp.
That technology made it easier, but how did you deal with those moments when you literally felt like you were, I mean, you had your two sons, but they were small, but that you were on your own?
It was hard. I cried a lot. Um, I kept in touch with Thea a lot. But it was hard. I cried a lot. I missed my family. I still miss my family dearly. Um,
Why didn't you come home?
because I was faced with lupus, and I knew that the hospital in Bermuda cannot give me the care that I need. I need specialists, and I was told that the specialists only come in so often. My niece has lupus, and she often has to fly out to get the services that she needs. And also, another friend of mine has lupus in Bermuda, and she also has to fly out often to get the services that she needs. And um, I have lupus with an overlap of scleroderma. And that's two autoimmune illnesses that attack the body. And I have a lot of lung issues. I have a lot of other ailments that go with this illness. So every day is not a good day for me. Some days I can't get out of my bed. I just recently had a bout in the hospital, and I'm out fresh now a week and a half. And it was a virus that attacked my lungs. I couldn't breathe. So I skirt around this illness as carefully as I can. But at the same time, I give glory to God because He is the only one that is saving my life. And I don't live every day like, oh, I have lupus, I have lupus. I live every day like, thank you, Jesus, I'm alive. And I,
So I'm sorry. So even it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you sacrificed in as far as your physical contact with family in order to have medical care.
I did.
Do you ever regret that?
Sometimes, sometimes I do.
No, at one point, moving further into your journey, you ended up homeless or living in a homeless shelter.
Yes.
As much as you care to share, how did you get to that space? And more importantly, how did you feel as a mom? I can't imagine what that feels like to have to resort to living in a shelter with my children. How did you feel? Do you recall?
Yes, I do. Actually, I was homeless twice. My boys and I, the first time we were homeless, um, Maryland has no rent cap. And when I say that is Maryland can raise their rent as much as they want each time. And there's no one to tell them how high they can go. And I live in Maryland. So the place that I was living, they was raising the rent $100+ and I could not afford that. I can afford the rent where it was, but once they were saying, oh, we're raising the rent, I couldn't. So I put all the stuff in storage and I let, Jerome know, my husband at the time, I just can't afford it. We can't afford it. So I said, well, in order to give the boys a nice summer, I'm going to go down to Delaware and hang out with my friend, with the boys, and we're going to go and do fun stuff, like amusement parks, swimming in a pool, and just give the boys a good time. We're going to do the library tour and stuff like that. And we'll look for houses or somewhere where we can move while I'm down there. I'll search. So I did. And everywhere in Maryland was either full or too expensive.
Hmm.
So while I was down there, I ended up living down there in Elkton, Maryland, which is pretty far away from regular Baltimore and Annapolis. So that's how I ended up living in Elkton. And I took ill, and my husband couldn't pay the rent, but he didn't share that with me. And I was in a rehab center getting better, and I got a call saying that I was being evicted.
Oh,
And so after I got out, I had to rush in with some of my church friends and pack up everything. It was Christmas, and they helped me pack up my house in a matter of a day, put everything in storage. And the boys and Elijah was too ill to go with me to a friend's house. So I had to give my child, I had to give my child to someone at my church. So
How
they
old was he, Sophie?
50, 50, 14, 15, no, 14.
So too old because they had young children. What made him too old?
Because where
About
I was going, they had a daughter his age, and they didn't want them to be in the same house together. So he was about, I want to say 13, 14. And so she said, Josiah and I could come, but Elijah couldn't. And it just ripped my heart out to give my kid to someone else. I felt so inferior as a mom. I felt like I'm giving my kid up. I felt empty. I felt alone. I felt it was horrible.
I
It was,
can't even imagine. I'm here trying not to cry because I can't imagine having to do that. It's different when you abandon your child.
it is.
When you have to make a choice, I just feel like no parent
Yeah,
should have to. And I have to ask this if you care to answer. In this, even faced with the crisis that your older son would have to go and live with someone else, did their father, not try to do everything to keep this from happening?
at this point, no, he didn't. He tucked his tail between his legs and he went home. I think that he was dealing with his own personal demons of failure. He just could not deal with what transpired. As a man, I think he felt that he let his family down. He was very discouraged. He was very, he just was within himself. He didn't know how to deal with everything that was going on. And he just left. He left us.
But even with your son, the one your older son, he couldn't take him to his mom's with him at the very least.
He abandoned us, Carla. He
You're
abandoned us.
you're a woman of faith, Sophie, and I walk in faith, but I don't even think I could conjure up the faith to face that. And I definitely couldn't forgive. You're
That's
you're a woman of faith.
I am.
How how did you not lose your faith?
I couldn't because God was the only person that was seeing me through each day, through this turmoil, through this situation. He was the only one that was faithful every day. He was the only one that was never changing every day, and things were happening. And actually, we didn't even stay there very long because I actually ended up getting in a fight, a fist fight with the daughter of where I was staying. She spit in my face and called me a nigger. And we ended up having a fist fight in her house. And it all started because she didn't want her kid to play with my kid. And I was like, they're only children. Why can't they play together with the toys? So
Wait,
she,
this is the woman that took you in?
yes, her daughter. The woman that took us in ended up going out on an anniversary date with her husband. And her
And
daughter was home with her friend. And the kids were playing. And Josiah came to me and said, Mommy, she don't want to play with me. She don't want to share toys. So I was like, why? What's the problem? And she was like, my daughter don't have to share with him. You go just a nigger and spit in my face. And I'm sorry, I lost. I lost it all. I took her by her head and they had to pull me over her. I was beating her head into the cement floor. They had to pull me off of her.
um Corinne, actually, this is what was going through my mind. So these are the church people.
These were church people, yes.
I mean, I know it wasn't the mom.
It wasn't the mom who is a church person, it was her daughter.
Who
But
clearly didn't go to church, did
who
she?
clearly did not go to church. She had her own demons to face.
So then what, you move on. Did
So
you
I
find
moved
a
on.
place or
Actually,
did
that
you
night I
go?
left that house because the mom came home and took the daughter aside and told me I had to leave. So then I left that house, and for that night, Josiah and I did not have anywhere to go. So I had to think very carefully about what to do. Elijah was safe, so he was with them. And so I said, okay, what can I do for tonight? And then I think I stayed in a hotel or something. I had just recently had some kind of back surgery, so my back was really, really hurting me. So I think we stayed in a hotel or something. So after that, we went to a shelter. The shelter that wanted all my money, all my food stamps, and wanted all of us to work in the shelter, clean the windows, clean the floors in order to be fed. I said, this is a cult. This is crazy.
So Sophie, one sec. I have to go backwards. Elijah was 15, right?
Yes.
So my oldest, Johnny's now 16. So I'm imagining the boys are 16 and 12, and I'm
Mhm.
imagining it's not like they were 3 and 4 or 2 and 10,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
How did Elijah process um being so cognizant that this decision had to be taken? I mean, your hands were forced, but was that difficult? Because I mean, as much as my 16-year-old would like to think he don't love his mommy, he would be beside himself if we had to be separated. How did Elijah deal with it?
Elijah kept everything in. Um, he was very, even up until I want to say 20 years old, he was very angry, very bitter towards his dad. They've even had fist fights, but it's just that he kept everything in. He wasn't angry with me for making the decisions I had to make, but he was angry with his dad for making his decisions, for forcing me to have to make the decisions I had to make. Um, he shares with me that he would never ever change or do life without me, and that he loves me dearly, and that he wouldn't change the things that have happened because they have been what has made him the young man that he is.
Because he's 21, right?
He was 21.
So fast forward, so you're now you told those people no, you're not going to be a part of that cult. Did you now? Did you end up eventually in another homeless shelter, or did things get better?
No, they didn't get better. I left there, took my kids, walked on the highway, took all our stuff, and then we went to a rough hotel. I don't know if you know about rough hotels, but this was clearly a drug infested hotel, but that was all that I could afford. It was one of those hotels that have extended stay where it's really cheap. So
Wow.
I had to stay there. And you knew that majority of the people that were there were drug addicts with their kids. So we stayed there. One of them gave us a toaster oven so that we could, cook in our room. She had extra stuff that she shared with us. And then some of my friends from church would bring us food so that we can cook in there and stuff like that. So we stayed there for a long time, till I just ran out of money.
In this, Sophie, and I don't mean to belabor this, but I never understood faith, right?
Hmm.
Never understood it until maybe about 5, 6 years ago.
Hmm.
You come from a very close knit family who, without a doubt, would have put money together and brought you three home, right? Yes, you had your lupus. Did you ever think, you know what? I just need to go home?
Um, yes. But then I thought I will be dumping all my problems on my family. Where would I stay? I had to think about, okay, if I'm staying with my mother, how feasible would that be? Because we weren't the best of friends at that time. We didn't gel like that. Then I said, okay, if where would I stay? Then I'm putting all my burdens on my family, my illness, my everything. I don't work because the doctors don't want me to work. I can't handle high stress. I'm sick all the time. Who's going to pay for these hospital bills? I have to go to the doctor all the time to get things checked. I have to have special tests every 3 months. I have to have my blood checked every 5 weeks. So who's going to pay for all this stuff to make sure that I stay alive? The medicine that I need is not even in Bermuda. So, I mean, and I know this because one time I came home for a wedding and they couldn't even treat me. They needed to use my medicine that I brought home to treat me in the hospital. And I ended up getting sick and they didn't know what to do. They just wanted to open me up. Oh, we don't know. Let's open you up and see what's wrong.
Have you, at this juncture, um, where you are now, in where you're telling us this story, did you ever say, "Why me"?
Yes. I was angry at God for a long time. When I first got diagnosed in 2008, I was angry. I was suicidal. I was angry. I spent a lot of time in my walk-in closet crying. Why? What did I do that was so wrong?
Did you
Why am
hide?
I being punished?
Did you hide the pain from your boys? The
No,
emotional pain?
no, I couldn't. It was too much. I did not hide. They knew that I was suffering because I was always in my closet, my walk-in closet, crying. They knew that I was suffering.
When did um when did you start to see some light?
Um, some light from moving or some light from the illness.
At this point, some like period, something that made you feel, I mean, you say, you're a woman of faith,
Yes,
but I'm sure there had to be some moment when you were just like, oh, it's getting better.
yes. When I After the second time of being after we had been in the hotel for a while, I took ill again. Josiah had to move with his godmom, Tamika, in Glen Burnie. Elijah moved with his sister in Baltimore, and I was in the hospital for an extended time. Um, and then once I got out of there, I went to Glen Burnie to be with Josiah. We moved to a shelter called Sarah's House, Josiah and I. We were there for 1 year, and it allowed me to save my child support. And when you're there, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to tell them all your income so they can take some from you. And I didn't. And it allowed me to move to a new place and start life all over again, and allowed me to have my boys back because Elijah really wasn't with me for a couple of years. So it allowed me to have my boys back under one roof and just to have stability. And that's where the light became to shine in our lives when we started living back together.
So you talked about Elijah being now, this happened when he was 15, the initial separation, and then he's now 21, so we're looking at a span of 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does he have faith like you do, or how is he finding his light and processing all of that pain?
He has some faith. He believes in a higher power. He believes in God, I should say. But he spends a lot of time rapping. He loves to rap. He does quite well. Um, and that's where he finds his peace. He raps about his pain, and that's how he gets it out.
So do you now, so now you're stable, but
Yes.
have you, although, because I don't want to come across as male bashing because I'm accused of that, right? But I have to call a spade a spade. Dad didn't support like he could have, right?
Right.
Do you ever look back and say, like, how did I make it through this? Um, what about the lessons for your boys on how not to be as men and fathers? Do you have those sorts of conversations as well?
With them, yes. And they already know how not to be. They see their father now in a different light. and so do I. Jerome has grown immensely. That time apart and the situation has made him grow into a whole different man. He hasn't been able to come to me and say, I was wrong.
I
I'm,
was gonna
um,
ask you that. Did he say
yes,
sorry?
yes, I was wrong. I am sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have done what I did. I didn't know what I was doing. Um, and I needed time to grow up. And he did. He grew up. He communicates better because back then he wouldn't communicate. He communicates better. He sees the boys every weekend. He's here. If things are going left, he will tell me before they go left. He calls regularly. He helps regularly. He does child support. He goes above and beyond with financial help. So he's a totally different person now. And I've been able to forgive. We can forgive, but we may not ever forget. But the key is to forgive, and not for other people, but for yourself. And that's what makes it all the more better for you, is that you get over what has happened to you through the grace of God. That gives you healing in your body and in your mind.
So he's grown, he's done much better. Do you think that you would have been able to more easily forgive him if he continued with the same abandonment trail as such?
Um, Probably I would, because forgiveness is so important. He wouldn't have been. I have to forgive him where he's at. You know what I mean? I can't change him, but I have to forgive him where he's at. And God loves you where you're at. You can't love past him. You know what I mean?
Now, let's talk about I just thought it was so important for you to share your journey, because your journey has been the anchor for you becoming an author as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
Now, you have written 3 books, The Adventure of Scoots and Mr. Buttons, and I thought that was a really cute story. And it's about a boy who um he finds he's missing his dad. His dad passed away, and he finds a cat, and then the owner of the cat comes forward, but she allows him to keep it. What was the inspiration behind that story?
We have moved so many times because Marilyn never ever keeps the rent the same, and we was homeless and just moving, and the boys never really was able to keep friends. And I think that really inspired the beginning of the book, with this kid moving and never being able to have friends. And we always had a pet, but the pet always died, like a fish or stuff like that. So we had to keep getting new fish. So I said, well, we're going to try a cat. So, and Elijah did the illustration. He was excited to do that. So I said, well, this is going to be a cute story with a boy who finds a cat. And Elijah and I love to do stuff in the kitchen, and Joe too. We bake and eat all the goodies and stuff like that. So that story is surrounded, has some characteristics of what we do at home, but also took a spin of its own by adding the cat.
Now, before I get to the more serious books, what is it like as an author where you finally, I mean, you talked about your first poetry book that you weren't happy with, right? But what did it feel like when to see your book go from conception to fruition and you're happy with it? What was that like?
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. It's like watching a movie come to life. It's it's inspiring. It's fulfilling, and it you to watch every step. The publisher includes you in everything, and they call you and say, oh, I sent you the pictures, what do you think about the pictures? We can put them this way and then you can put them that way. And one day I was in a ride, and my publisher had called me, and we were talking about the pictures, and they were saying, okay, we can do them this way and that way. And I'm all talking strategically on the phone, and the guy says, what, are you famous? I
You
said,
just
yes,
don't laugh.
I am.
Exactly. No, you talk so Poetry Hides. Is Poetry Hides the second go at the first poetry book, or these are all new books?
No, Poetry Hides is a second edition with more poems. It's got more poems in it, than the first one. And it's like a second edition, but it's a new cover and it's more meat.
Now, some people would say who may not appreciate poetry, like, why would I want to buy poetry? What are some of your reflections in there? What makes this book appealing?
It's got poems from every which way. It's got poetry from spiritual angles, from educational angles, fun angles, silly angles, just different things that I have come across through all my experiences that I like to write on. So if you need something geared towards education, it's in there. Something towards learning to cross the street, learning about shoes, learning about the sky, learning about the Lord, all kinds of fun stuff.
I have to ask you this so I could try it on my children. Where's their poetry in dishes? You said earlier poetry's in everything.
Yes,
Where's the poetry in dishes?
the pots and pans and the water drip, 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 all of that.
Just trying to drop a job on Johnny later. And then your third book, A Journey in Foal. Go ahead, continue with the title. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read that far. But
A
once you
journey of faith and courage, a woman struggled through illness and depression.
self-explanatory, I take it. So you journal. This is you journaling about your journey.
It is a journal about my journey. It is biblically based. Before each chapter is a scripture of what helped me stand on the Lord's grace, and it goes through a summary of things that had transpired. And at the end of each chapter, there is some questions that you could ask yourself. How did this chapter help you? What can you do that's different? Did this chapter help you in this way or that way? So the book can be used as a journal or Bible study book, or just something for you to help lift yourself through your illness or depression that can help you get on top of things.
Now, before we wrap up, Sophie, what would you say, whether it's a mom or dad, anyone, what would you say to someone who feels that they are at their worst right now, that they are at their lowest, and they feel that they cannot pull out of whatever this situation may be? What do you say to them?
I say, lift your eyes to the hills because your help comes from the Lord. He is your strength. He is your will. He is your grace. He will never leave you nor forsake you.
Now, Sophie, for those who want to purchase the books, excuse me, Amazon, I assume.
Yes, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, they're on most syndicates now. And actually, I think they are on sale. The Scoot Mr. Buttons book is not on sale, but I think Poetry Hides and A Journey of Faith and Courage is on sale right now on Amazon. So get them while you can.
And again, for those who have just tuned in, this is Sophie. Now, is it as Sophia or Sophie?
Sophia.
Sophia McCray, McCray. Sophie is a Bermudian who has lived in Maryland for the last 14 years.
Mm.
When was the last time you were in Bermuda? When you left?
Oh, wow. Can't remember. It's been that long.
Do you want to come back one day?
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Listen, when I hit the jackpot, I'm going to pull an Oprah. You to Bermuda. Let's go.
I'm coming.
So, guys, this has been a She Hub edition of Conversations with my guest, Sophia McCray. I just thank you, Sophia, because I wasn't going to do video. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. So you've brought out something in me that I stopped a while ago. So I thank you so much. And anyone who wants to, when I did the promo, people was like, oh, I can't wait to read her story. It is here digitally. So just go on either my personal Facebook page or the She Hub TV Facebook page, or if you're in the Women's Empowerment Summit Bermuda and Beyond group, the interview is in there as well. Please don't forget to log on to shehub.tv for great content, including from Ghana. If you haven't already, please purchase a copy of She Hub magazine. This is the latest edition, and we have a sports edition coming out in August. If you prefer it in the App Store, you can download it in any App Store. So thank you so much. If you'd like to be a guest on Conversations with Shehab, please feel free to email me at carla@shehab.tv or hit me up on any of my socials. Sophie, I appreciate this so much. You almost made me cry. I was
Hmm.
like, I'm not crying, but I appreciate your transparency. I appreciate your journey because sometimes we think that we're the only ones going through something or what we're going through is the worst thing in the world. And there
Hmm.
are so many people who are suffering in silence. And I'm so glad that you've chosen not to.
Yes. Thank
So,
you so much for
again,
having me.
guys, please go and support Sophie by buying her books. Are you looking to have your books in Bermuda?
I want to, but I don't know how. I've been trying to find someone who ships in Bermuda, but I can't seem to get that connection.
Okay. Well, and the gentleman who was the absolute plug, he's leaving Bermuda. So hopefully his replacement at the bookmark will be as phenomenal as him. So we'll let's try. If anyone knows how to get her book in Bermuda, please let us know. Let me know, and I'll get that information to Sophie.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Sophie. Have a beautiful day and continue to be blessed. Everyone, have a great weekend. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Conversations with Shehab.tv.
Thank you.